Hey everyone, and welcome to my September Recently I've Been catch up. This is going to be the start of a new series on this channel where I start talking about the things that I've been recently reading, listening to, and also watching, because obviously I talk a lot about the things that I've been reading, but I don't really talk enough about the things that I've been watching as well. And considering I spend a lot of time watching TV, I do want to talk about it more on here. So that's kind of what these videos are going to be. So let's get into it, starting with exactly what I've been reading recently. The first book I want to mention is the one I've just most recently read, which is Amari and the Despicable Wonders by B.B. Alston, and this is the third book in the Amari series, so I'm not going to go into full detail about this because obviously it's the third one in the series and I don't want to give away spoilers. But essentially the story of Amari in the series is essentially about Amari, who is a young girl who discovers that the supernatural is real, and she ends up joining this agency, which is kind of like the Men in Black but for the supernatural instead of aliens, and it all goes from there. And this was so much fun. Once again, I really enjoyed this series, and I will say that this one specifically is absolutely fantastic for Halloween reading, because you do see Jekyll and Hyde in here. You also have like shadow creature type things in here as well. There's also ghouls as well, and then also a Frankenstein's monster type character who's very briefly in it, but there is still a Frankenstein's monster type character in here, and it just felt very sort of Halloween adjacent, which I really enjoyed, because I'm all about the Halloween at the moment and all about the spooky. So that was absolutely fantastic. I generally really enjoyed this book, but what I will say is that I do wish that the ending had been a little bit longer. It felt a little bit rushed to me in a few places with what was going on and everything that happened. It just kind of skipped along very quickly to get to the end, and I do wish it had been sort of lengthened out a little bit more and just explained that a little bit more. But overall, this was a fantastic read, and I'm giving it 4 stars because I had such a good time with it, and I cannot wait for the next one to come out. It's probably going to be next year now because this has only just come out, but I cannot wait for it. And the other book I really enjoyed this month that I want to talk about briefly is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, because this was an incredible read. If you like heist books, you're going to really enjoy this one, because this book is all about Locke Lamora, who is the head of a gang of thieves called the Gentlemen Bastards, and they are essentially a group of thieves who run cons, and they are con men for the sort of landed gentry, aristocracy, sort of government of this world, and they go around running cons on them essentially, and we're following him through one con as at the same time the heads of all the gangs and the thief gangs and everything are slowly being killed by someone called the Grey King, and what happens going from there. And it is so much fun. I love the twists and turns of this. I love seeing how the con unfolded and seeing all of the different things Locke had planned and the things he had up his sleeve and the twists and turns of that. I really enjoyed all of the characters and the gang of the Gentlemen Bastards. I really loved them as well, especially Bug. I really liked Bug. I really liked as well just the world of this. It's very Venetian inspired, which was really fun. I will say though that some of the writing in this is a little bit dense, and so I had to reread it like 4 or 5 times to get it into my head, because it was quite dense and quite difficult to understand. I could be wrong on that though, because I was interrupted every 5 minutes while trying to read this book, so it could have just been that, and I had to keep on rereading it because my concentration kept on being broken. But overall, this was a really good book, and it would have been a 4-star, but I had to knock it down to a 3 simply because there are quite a few homophobic comments in here that really didn't need to be in here. But I think, if I remember rightly, I've heard from Hannah from Ladder M, who I will link down below, who is absolutely raving about this series. I'm pretty sure she says that improves because Scott Lynch has learnt better since then, so I'm hoping that's the case, because I definitely want to continue on with this series. It was just the homophobic language that I really didn't like, as well as some of the sexism in here as well, because there's quite a few sexist comments as well thinking about it. But overall, this was a really good book. If you like heists and cons and twists twists and turns and this kind of thing, you can definitely check this book out because it was really good fun and I really enjoyed it. As for what I've been listening to a podcast called The Haunted House on Hollow Hill, which was a 6-part story set within the Skullduggery Read Pleasant universe. And this is the first time I have ever listened to a Skullduggery book. I always read them physically usually, but because this one was coming out as a podcast first before the book comes out at the end of the month, I was like, right, well, obviously I'm listening to it. And I had so much fun listening to this one because this is all about Skullduggery and Valkyrie as they land themselves in a haunted hotel on the night that the ghost that's haunting the hotel is supposed to come out, and then all of a sudden loads of bodies start dropping and it turns out there's a serial killer among the guests in the hotel, and this was so much fun. I will say that my only problem with it was the fact that several of the voice actors were voicing several characters, and specifically all of the female characters were voiced by one woman, which meant it was a little bit difficult at times to sort of figure out who was talking because they all sounded quite similar, and yes, they had different accents and things like this, but it was still like a little bit difficult at times just to fully get who was talking at points, which could have just been a me thing. I'm not usually someone who listens to podcasts and things like this, and I have with the Wolverine podcast I listened to a couple of months ago, I did find that a little bit difficult to follow, so it could just be me not being used to podcasted stories, but I did really enjoy the story overall. I really liked the mystery of it. I loved finding out more about the haunted house on Hollow Hill and sort of slowly unraveling all of these characters and the secrets they were holding, all of this kind of thing. And what I will say, speaking of the voice actors, is that one of them who was playing Romeo Gideon, who's kind of like a failed sensitive at the Sanctuary turned terrible magician in the human world, he sounds exactly like Mr. Paradox from Deadpool and Wolverine. So I was listening to it, imagining Matthew Macfadyen, who plays Mr. Paradox, as Romeo Gideon. And I don't know if I was meant to, but that's what I had in my head, which was really good fun, to be honest, because I could just imagine Matthew Macfadyen absolutely nailing that role and just really working as Romeo Gideon. So it was a really good time in that sense and seeing that part of it. I really liked, like I said, unraveling the mystery of it and really sort of seeing a Skullduggery story told in a different way, because I'm so used to reading them physically that it was nice to hear them as well and stuff like this. That was really good fun, and I just generally really enjoyed listening to this. And as always, because it's a Skullduggery book and because I had so much fun, it's got 5 stars and I cannot wait for the book to arrive so I can also now read it physically. Then the other audiobook I've been listening to in between the podcast episodes is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal, and this has so far been alright. This is following 2 characters, one who is essentially the assassin for the Sultan of this world, and then the other one who is going around hunting animals and things to feed her village because magic has gone from this world and it's caused a whole load of problems. And now the 2 of them have had to team up together to go into this essentially sort of magical forest type place to hunt down something that could bring back magic to the world. And so far this is just an alright story, I'd say. It's not gripping me as much as I wanted it to. I'm finding myself kind of zoning in and out of it, to be honest, and while it is a good story and while it's reasonably enjoyable, it is not going to be one of my favourite books of the year, put it that way. It's alright, but it's not my absolute favourite, I'll say that. And then I've been listening to one other thing when I haven't been listening to an audiobook or a podcast or anything else, and that is the Heathers soundtrack, because for a few reasons really. One, it's because every single song on there is an absolute banger and I am loving singing all of these songs at the top of my lungs again. It is just bringing me so much joy. I am loving listening to it over again because the songs just bring me a great amount of joy. It's also because it is September and obviously the show starts on September the 1st. The opening lines of the show are September 1st, 1989, Dear Diary. So because we're in September, it feels like the right time to be listening to the soundtrack, but it's also because I'm seeing Carrie Hope Fletcher at the end of the month, which I'll talk about more in my next Recently I've Been next month, because obviously I haven't been yet, but I do know that she is going to be bringing Jamie Moscato to the tour date I am going to, and he was her JD when she was playing Veronica in Heathers, and my soundtrack is the recording of their Heathers essentially, so I'm listening to their songs and their versions of the Heathers soundtrack. So naturally I'm kind of hoping they're going to play a Heather song when Jamie comes out on stage for Carrie's tour. And I'm just hoping it's going to be something like Our Love Is God, because I know that Carrie's whole tour is based around love letters and love songs and the different types of love and all of this kind of thing. And if I was them, I would be playing Our Love Is God, because it's just such a good song from Heathers. It is such a dark song from Heathers as well, because obviously it's very, very controlling and all the rest of it from JD, but it's such a good song, and I miss them when they were playing Veronica and JD, and it will be one of my biggest regrets ever in my life that I never got to see them playing Veronica and JD. And last year when Carrie went on tour, I did hear her sing I Say No, and I'm just really hoping that because Jamie is going to be at my show that I am going to, they're going to play Our Love Is God, because, or just one of the songs from Heathers, because that's what I know them for, and I really want to hear it to kind of make up for the fact that I never saw them play the characters. I just really, really want it. So fingers crossed it happens. We'll see what happens, but I'm just really hoping that I am going to hear that, because that song, or any of the songs from Heathers, just bring me a great amount of joy. So I'm just hoping I hear one of them. I'll be happy with whatever they sing, by the way, even if it's nothing from Heathers, but I'm just holding out hope that it is going to be something from Heathers, I won't lie. And as for what I've been watching, the first thing I've been watching is WandaVision, because obviously I've been doing a rewatch of that before Agatha All Along comes out, and I've now watched the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, and I will not be giving spoilers, so don't worry about that. If you haven't seen the show yet, you definitely need to go and watch it, because it is incredible, but I'm not going to be giving away spoilers or anything. But first I want to talk about WandaVision, because I love WandaVision. I thought it was so cleverly done through all of the different decades, and really cleverly bringing in all of those different sitcom elements to it, while still having that overwhelming sense of dread throughout it. I really, really enjoyed that. I love the exploration more of Wanda's grief throughout this period as well, which was absolutely brilliant. I fell in love with Vision all over again, because I've always loved Vision, but there was just something about WandaVision that just made me have a complete crush on the guy. I won't lie, he's just the sweetest guy. I absolutely love how much he loves Wanda, how much he loves the children and everything else. I just think that's absolutely brilliant. I love him for it. And the one thing though that I'm back on again with WandaVision is the whole Evan Peters Quicksilver thing, because I have been convinced since he showed up that that is X-Men Quicksilver, because he has to be. Because first of all, he's played by Evan Peters, who is the X-Men Quicksilver. He is Peter Maximoff in the X-Men movies. So first of all, that was the first blatant clue. And I know that Agatha says that he was just a human living next door, and she's mind controlling him to be Ralph Bohner and this kind of thing, to be her husband and to work for her and all this kind of thing, which I fully understand, fully get. But the thing is that she doesn't say anything about giving him the Quicksilver powers, but he's got the Quicksilver powers. And I'm like, excuse me, how does he have those? Because Agatha says nothing about that. And also, why bring in specifically Evan Peters when you know the mutants are going to join the MCU, and then not have him as the X-Men Quicksilver brought through? So I am fully convinced that it's going to turn out that he was brought through via Wanda's grief, and she hasn't realised she's done it. She was just searching for someone to be with her again, and she managed to latch on to her brother's variant and pull him through, and he somehow ended up in witness protection, because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be that his character was like Jimmy Woo's missing person from witness protection, and they've put him in Westview to keep him safe, because they don't know what else to do with him or how to get him home or anything else. Can you tell I've thought about this a lot, because I really have. But yeah, so I'm convinced that it's going to turn out that his hex name was Ralph Bohner, and it's going to turn out that he is Peter Maximoff of the X-Men universe, Magneto's son, all of the rest of it. I am convinced of this, and I have been for the last 3 years. And watching it again, I'm like, no, seriously, he's going to be, because we've now seen so many other mutants turn up. Obviously, we've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, and like X-23 and people like this. Obviously, we've seen Charles as well in Multiverse of Madness. Obviously, we've seen Beast, and the next time we see Monica Rambeau and things like this. And I'm like, why send Monica to the X-Men universe after she's interacted with someone possibly from the X-Men universe, and then not make him the same guy from that universe. I'm sorry, that makes no sense. So I'm very much on the belief that he is still X-Men Quicksilver, and I will die on this hill. You know, I will literally die on this hill if I have to. That is X-Men Quicksilver. Kevin Feige could tell me I was wrong, and I would tell him to his face that he is wrong and he needs to fix it. So I'm back on that one, to say the least. I'm back on that, and I have been since the other day when I saw him first turn up at the end of the episode. I was like, no, that is X-Men Quicksilver. Shut up. Like, fight me on this. Literally, Kevin Feige, fight me on this, because he is X-Men Quicksilver, and I will die on this hill, but I still love the show anyway. Back to the point. I still love the show. I have such a crush on Vision. I love how it explores grief and all of this kind of thing. It is such a clever show. It is such a well done show. I absolutely love Agatha All Along as a song as well. And just generally, it deserved so many awards, so many accolades. It was done so well. And obviously, I was watching WandaVision, so I could watch Agatha All Along, which I have done as of this morning, and oh my god, is this show good. I'm not going to give away spoilers whatsoever, because obviously that's not fair. I'm only uploading this video like a day after the show has first come out, so I'm not going to give away spoilers, but I am loving the witchy nature of this. This is so witchy. I'm loving the vibes of it. I am loving the characters so far. I cannot wait to find out more about them. Agatha is completely like stealing the show. Obviously it's her show, but I am loving everything to do with Agatha and just seeing her in the spotlight more. She's absolutely fantastic. Catherine Hahn, you can tell, is having a great time on this set, which I am loving. The song already of The Witch's Road was absolutely incredible. It is going to be stuck in my head and battling the song Agatha All Along for the next few weeks, I can tell you that now. I am loving all of that. I am loving just all of the characters. I am so excited to find out more about Joe Locke's character, because obviously there is a mystery around him as well. Like, personally, ever since he was cast, I've been like, that's Billy. That's going to turn out to be a grown-up version of Billy, aka Wiccan, aka Wanda's son, who was the one with the magic powers in WandaVision. I am convinced of this. I'm not gonna lie, I have been convinced since he was cast, so I'm pretty sure that's going to turn out to be who he is, and he wants to get down the witch's road to find his mother, or at least his twin again, and this kind of thing. I'm convinced of that, but I am so excited to find out more about him and the rest of the witches, and the world of the witches, and the magic of the Marvel Universe. It's one of my favourite parts of the Marvel Universe. It's definitely like the magic side of it, so I'm really excited about all of that. I'm excited to maybe find out more about the Darkhold as well, and Agatha's past. And then there's Rio Vidal, played obviously by Aubrey Plaza, and I'm sat here going, but what if she's the Shadow King? Because we know that her character is going to be a big reveal later on. We don't know who she's actually playing or anything else, and I know there's a lot of theories about Mephisto. Again, there's also theories about her being like the Emerald Warlock or people like this, and I'm saying, but what if she's the Shadow King? And she's 100% not going to be the Shadow King. But the reason why I'm saying that is because Aubrey Plaza has already played a character in the extended Marvel Universe, because she was in a show called Legion starring Dan Stevens, which was about Charles Xavier, his son, I should say. It's about Charles Xavier's son, David, aka Legion. And like, Aubrey Plaza was playing a character called Lenny, who was David's friend, and then she got possessed kind of by the Shadow King and controlled by the Shadow King. And now she's turned up in the Marvel Universe itself. And obviously we've got the multiverse going on, we've got variants going on, we've got like mutants turning up and things like this, obviously with Evan Peters and everybody else. So now my brain's going, but what if she is? And I'm like, she's not going to be the Shadow King. And I know for a fact she's not going to be the Shadow King, because that is ridiculous. But it's not ridiculous, but it's just not happening. It is absolutely, completely and utterly not happening. But my brain is going, but what if she is? And it's like, no, she's not. And I have to keep on reading myself in here, because she's not going to be the Shadow King. But it's just one of those things, you know, where a character turns up again, they were in the extended universe, we're now in a multiverse saga and all the rest of it, and your brain can't help but go, but what if she is? And it's definitely not, but it's just my current theory. It's not going to be correct. I'm just going to live in my own world of, she's not the Shadow King, but she could be. You know, I'm just doing that at the moment. But overall, Agatha All Along, so good so far. I have so many theories that are not absolutely ridiculous about the Shadow King. All of this kind of thing, which I'll be covering more in my Agatha All Along vlog that will be coming out when the show is finished, probably at the beginning of November. So look out for that if you want more of my theories and my reactions to the show as it comes out. And then the only other thing that I've watched recently is The Prestige. And this is a movie starring Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. And it is incredible. If you want a mystery surrounding like magicians, like your traditional magicians, like stage magicians, where one of them is dead and it looks like the other one has murdered him, and you're going through what's happened in the lead up to that potential murder, what's going on and this kind of thing, this is definitely for you. And the twists and turns of this one are incredible. I was on the edge of my seat going, what do you mean that just happened? With all of the twists and the turns and everything else, it was done incredibly well. I absolutely loved everything about this. This was truly an incredible like film. It definitely deserved all the awards that it got. It deserves all of the accolades it got as well, because it got so many accolades at the time when it was released in like 2006, I think it was, and it was done impeccably well. It was just done so well. I highly recommend it if you are a fan of like mysteries and thrillers and this kind of thing, because it is done incredibly well, and I highly recommend it. And that is absolutely everything I've recently been watching, reading and listening to. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you've been watching recently. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a magic related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is going to be filled with all things to do with Agatha All Along. If you are interested in that and want to know more about her comic counterpart and everything to do with what Agatha All Along was based on, all of that will be linked down below, as well as a link as well down below to my bookish Etsy store if you want to treat yourself to something bookish today. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!